I'm super excited. So today I have Sheila Musgrove with me. Sheila and I go way back. We were having this conversation before we started recording. Our little cameo photo is with us. I worked with Sheila way back in the day, 2013. And that was when Sheila's company was still, I won't say in its infancy, but it was at its halfway mark, give or take.
Sure.
And I was doing a lot of different temp positions for you, and it was so fun. We had so much fun together. And one of the funnest moments that we had was when I started handing out barbecue sauce.
Yes.
For you. So why don't we just dive into the barbecue sauce first? Because I feel like we need to address that.
We do need to explain the barbecue sauce.
The barbecue sauce.
So in Calgary, there's 300 plus staffing firms. So, handing out pens and coffee mugs really don't cut it for marketing. No. So I started to, and I can't remember if that was the first year that we did it.
That was our first year of barbecue sauce.
So I branded Cattle Boys barbecue sauce with a tagline a cover on the barbecue sauce, which said TAG Recruitment, recruiting Calgary's sauciest talent.
I remember that. Oh my God, yes,
and
that's
so
right.
Then I realized I could not hand out 200 or 300 bottles of barbecue sauce during a stampede.
No.
I just handed out the ones that I hand out with TAG vodka. I mean, how lucky am I that I can find TAG vodka? My company is called TAG Recruitment.
It's incredible.
Found TAG vodka. It is gluten-free, so it's almost a health food product. So you handed out the barbecue sauce. And I remember this picture is just epic. You showed up with just only as Carrie-Anne can, with the cowboy hat and the gorgeous shoes, and just like you were going to sling
the
some
red
barbecue.
Shoes.
They were.
It had to be red. TAG's infamous color is red.
Yes.
So we needed the big, and those were like,
they were
also were having
beautiful.
this conversation off camera. Those were like back in the day, the shoes.
Oh, amazing shoes.
Those were like a 5-inch heel, and I'm trucking around with barbecue sauce. Now I put on a 2-inch heel, and I'm like, oof, the knees are going to feel that in an hour. Oh, God.
100%, yeah.
So, no, that was so much fun. And that was the office space that you had
Yes.
up until recently.
Yes.
Okay, so tell me about TAG from like Cliff Notes me
Sure.
all the way through until where we are currently.
Wow. Okay. So, as I have to share, tomorrow, TAG is celebrating 20 years in business. Tomorrow, April 18th, 2005, is when I flung open the doors. Well, I flung open a door and sat down in my single rented office. And that's when I started. So started in 2005 solo. Eventually, over the years, I was only solo for 2 months, and then I've had staff ever since. Wow. Anywhere 1 to 6, depending, because in 20 years, about half of that time actually has been in some sort of down economy or a pandemic. So half of those years. So through the years, we've ebbed and flowed with the economy. When the economy is strong, we tend to do a lot of permanent search.
Yes.
When the economy is weak, then temporary staffing goes up. So we actually ended up doing a lot of work, and still do, in warehousing and logistics.
Okay.
So during the pandemic, I joked with my clients, okay, if I run out of milk, wine, cheese, cottage cheese, I know the back door and all of your cell numbers.
I'm coming in.
So
I'm not doing big box shopping anymore. We're doing warehouse. Okay, I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine. This is how this works.
So 20 years, we've ebbed and flowed. Lots of permanent search, lots of different temporary gigs over that time frame. And that beautiful office we were in. Oh, I love that office. So as I shared with you before we started recording, you were in that office, the cool chair.
Yes.
That chair has made it on the cover of my first book and in the Porsche video. It's an epic couch.
We have to circle back to the Porsche video because
will.
that is reserved for its own cameo moment. Yes, but stay tuned.
Absolutely. So I bought that office space I opened in 2005. I bought that space in 2007. So so the company really launched quickly and very successfully, which was amazing.
That's huge.
Yes, it was a pinch me moment, literally, that it grew so quickly. And I mean, that was one of my dreams, I was in corporate for a long time, but I needed out of corporate. And that may be another story we get to along the way. 20 years. And during the pandemic, of course, 5 years ago, ago in March, we were in the office and then we weren't. I remember the last day that we were in the office, I was actually on CTV doing a segment at noon.
Yep.
And then I called the office and I said to my team, this funny rumor about this pandemic, I'm just going to stop for a couple of groceries on the way back to the office. And then that's when it would hit me like, oh my gosh, this
It's
is
actually happening.
It's happening.
Yep.
So we never went back to the office in those March, whatever day that
Yep.
was in 2020, we did not go back.
Yep.
So we were open, the world was open, it was closed. It was open, it was closed.
Constantly.
And so I made the really tough decision. Like, that was a big piece of real estate.
It was a huge office.
It was massive and it was gorgeous, and I designed every inch of it.
Yes.
But it just didn't make sense to hold or to have that much
No.
of an asset sitting as a big liability.
Well, and sitting empty for as long as it was going to,
Yeah.
that's scary.
That was
Okay.
it was a cool office. So I listed it, and within a couple of weeks, 5 showings, 4 offers, and it was done.
Wow.
And so now the foyer couch is in my basement.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I was going to say, please don't tell me you got rid of that
Oh, no.
couch. That couch is iconic. I feel like that's like everything with TAG is that couch is everywhere.
It is.
Oh, I love it.
I always loved going out to the reception area when people were waiting for interviews, and you would see people doing selfies on the couch. Love it.
That couch was so iconic. And honestly, like it being in the video, it being on the cover of the book, it just kind of like followed you around. It was like better than a logo. It was
yeah.
just like a staple accessory in the name of TAG.
Yeah. Well, and it was the circles. That's why I bought it, because our logo has 3 circles in it, and one of the circles is cut out on our business card.
That's right.
Which, hint, is a way to win more business card draws when you have a hole in your business card, because it's very tactile.
It feels it.
Yeah.
I love this. It's funny that you say that, because we were at a networking event with the Chamber of Commerce, I don't know, a year something ago. And we had entered all of our stuff into a draw. And of course, I dropped my business card in there, and I don't know how, but one of my rings falls off into the thing. And I'm like, oh. So of course, now I'm the human that's like, it's gonna go for a little swim in there because I need my ring. So she comes back and she's like, what are you doing? And I was like, people have some strange things on their business cards. Like somebody had an elastic band around it. Somebody had, like when kids' books, there's like a fuzzy patch and a prickly patch. There was one business card that had like a Velcro fuzzy patch on it. So I took the card out. And I was like, I'm going to go find him and tell him I took his card out. He's got to go put his, I was like, don't do the draw. I'm holding somebody's entry. So I'm walking around. I'm looking at the picture on the card. I'm like, I'm going to find you. Find him. I'm like, what is with this Velcro bit? And he goes, actually, it's really funny. It started off as an absolute nothing. And then it just became like, people loved it because it was bizarre and strange and practical. And I was like, it's practical. I was like, okay. So I went to a meeting. And he goes, I dropped my daughter off before the meeting, and she was in a fuzzy white coat. And he goes, I'm just about waiting for the executives to come in the meeting, and I noticed that the one side of my coat is covered in fluff. And he goes, it was like a wool coat. So, of course, I'm trying to get this fluff off, not working. So he goes, I ended up having something in my pocket that was like Velcro, and I took it, and it got it off my coat right away. And I was like, well, it would. And he goes, so I've got a little, like the side portion of his card is Velcro. And he goes, so it works on suits. If you've got lint, you've got to rub off. He's like, it sticks out in a grouping of cards so people can feel it. He's like, it's just kind of like a one-stop shop of creative ways to use a hunk of Velcro. And I was like, see, so same with the hole in your card. Like, I love that kind of stuff because it stands out.
Absolutely.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
I love this. Okay. So the couch, was it an accident choice or
No.
strategic?
Oh, very on purpose. Because,
Okay.
So if you remember our office, everything aligned to those circles. So
Yes.
our lights above the reception desk, there
Yes.
were red lights.
Yes.
I had such fun designing that office.
You had so many plugs in there. It was so beautiful.
It was amazing. And then because the couch, it actually was made by a designer. It's not an original. George Nelson, mid-century modern furniture designer, and it's called either the Sunshine Sofa or the Sunshine Sofa. There's another name, the Smile Sofa.
Okay.
But I bought it because it has the circles, which then align to the logo.
I love this.
Yeah.
And so, so we have to talk about the couch a little further.
Okay.
Because it was in the Porsche ad.
Yes.
The Porsche video is on YouTube. I will
Yes.
leave the link in the comment below. The Porsche video How did the couch make it into the Porsche video?
Well, I loved it. So that was part of it was an international campaign by Porsche called hashtag Drive Defines Her. So in Canada, US, around the world, if you do hashtag Drive Defines Her, it will all pop up.
Yes.
And I also have it on my Instagram as well.
Yes, you do.
So it was very fun how it came. I got a call from marketing and they said, hey, it's Calgary Porsche Marketing. We're doing a video featuring one of our clients who is a business owner and has a bit of sass and a bit of a story to tell. I'm like, oh, well, thank you for calling. So I said, 100%, of course I want to be in this video. So they said, okay, you're going to drive a red electric Taycan, gorgeous car.
Beautiful.
So the marketing guy said, anything you can do that's red. And I said, well,
you came to the right woman.
so I'm a good student. So I'm like, got it. So I sent him a picture of the first edition of my book. And I said, would you be interested in having this couch and filming the speaking part on this couch? He's like, 100%. I'll have some guys sent over right away. So they hauled my couch out of my house. And so I took the assignment. I had a big red ring. I had a red bracelet. I had a red phone, red lips. I was a
You
big stud.
accessorized well.
I accessorized to align with the car. But then the fun part, so of course you write the script. Here's what we're talking about. And there were some questions they wanted answered.
Yes.
And so then I thought, okay, well, I talk about one of my dreams when I was a little kid in grade 2 was to be a writer.
Yes.
And so in my Unexpected Mentors book.
We love a shameless plug. We love it.
In there, there's a full chapter on your inner kid or your little kid runs the show. And so I put my grade 2 picture in this book.
Yes.
And so I talk about when I was in grade 2, all I wanted to do, my entire ambition was to be a writer and to write books. I had no idea how or why or how that would ever happen, but that was a goal. And so I ended up bringing, because the picture is in the book, I ended up bringing my grade 2 picture.
I remember this
Yes.
in a frame.
Yes.
Yes.
And I am wearing, guess what? A red outfit that my grandmother sewed. Here I am.
Kismet start to finish.
Oh my God! Here I am with the big. I had red hair, big pigtails, red. And so I walked into the studio and I said to the producer, "You've got the script, but would you like this visual?" And he looked at it. He's like, 100%. So I talk about following your little kid dreams in this Porsche video,
Yes.
and I hold up my grade 2 picture with my red outfit.
Yes.
My grandmother would just be
Thrilled.
Oh
my
beyond
God, she would be beaming, floating.
floating.
Yes.
Amazing. Imagine she sewed that outfit a lot of years ago, and to then have it appear in an international video. Come
Porsche?
on.
Oh, she'd be levitating.
When my mom was watching the video, she just focused in on this, on the grade 2 picture. Of course. But then, so the video comes out. It was so much fun. The video came out, and then I was in the dealership getting something done to my car, can't remember. And then the GM said, "Sheila, the international video just came out today, and you're in it." I'm like, what? So I said, send it to me. So, of course, I watched the video, and you can hear me talking, but it was the little kid version of me that ended up in the international video as I'm holding this picture up. 3 seconds, and guess who is in the video right after me? Patrick Dempsey.
Oh my God.
None other than McDreamy from Grey's Anatomy. And yeah, I counted. He had 3 seconds too.
3 seconds with Patrick. Listen, I don't know many women that can say they got 3 seconds anywhere near that man. So the fact that you got 3 seconds in a video with Patrick Dempsey is remarkable.
Amazing.
But
it
it's
was
so cool.
It was a highlight.
That's just like a little plug, just with none other than McDreamy. Not a big deal.
No big deal.
No big deal. Just slide that one. Just add it to the accolade list. I love it.
That was so much fun. So all of these fun things that you get exposed to as a business owner, if you
Yes.
put yourself out there.
That is correct. Putting yourself out there is the piece that a lot of people don't do.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you say that, because I've had a couple people say very similar things. And I've had a couple people really address the notion of if you, especially because I had one business owner and she was, very like my face is the business and the business is my face. So it's very difficult because online or, when you're speaking or you're in anything public facing, you're either too human for the business or you're too business to be human. And so it's a really difficult blend for a lot of people because they don't know how to be authentically put yourself out there without the business side of it looking at them like, what are you doing?
Right.
And I mean that as you know me, and it's ironic because of course today I'm incredibly dressed down, but there have been so many times where even my kids are like, of course you would wear that, Carrie. Like I have a hot pink suit and every time I wear it, everywhere I go, people are like, that. I'm like, guys, it feels like pajamas. I can't lie to you. I literally bought it because it just feels like I'm in my jammies, but it looks like I'm super bedazzly dressed up.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where I think people gravitate to that loud, boisterous fun because a lot of people don't know how to do that comfortably, authentically.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people want it. They just don't know how to be authentic about it.
Yeah.
And so what does that look like, between your books? You do a lot of speaking, at different seminars, at different universities. What does that look like keeping true to you without it impacting what you do?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a hard question.
Yes.
It is a very hard question because I think in this, funny, I'll start with in Unexpected Mentors.
Yes.
There is a chapter called Whatever Makes You Weird is Probably Your Greatest Asset.
Love that.
Isn't that fun?
Okay, so I am gonna be totally honest. This
Yeah.
is the only one I have not read.
Oh, well, that copy is
So,
yours. I'll sign it before I leave.
I'm going to tell you that you need to read this because I have not read this, but already the 2 plugs you've given me about this, I'm wickedly excited about that.
It's a quirky little book. It is. It's quirky. The reason I wrote that book is in my recruitment firm, people would come to me and say, here's where I'm at with my job search.
Yes.
I feel like I've been at a disadvantage because I haven't had a formal career mentor. And I would say that's baloney.
Yes.
Like there's so many ways that you can find career inspiration or mentorship outside of a traditional mentor. And in fact, the ones I'm here, and hopefully I have another story I'll share later,
Yes.
but there's so many ways you can find career inspiration. And as a business owner, that has to come from within.
Yes.
So you you can be inspired by what's around you, but it comes from within.
Yes.
So I think back to your question of, how do you develop that personality, that presence outside of your business? Well, definitely when I opened, I had very sensible hair. So
Okay, but
I
the
had a
hair is
bob.
my favorite thing.
I had a
You
bob.
did have a bob.
Right?
Well,
And
you
then-
had shorter hair when I met you, but I
Okay.
have seen pictures of the bob, and I was
Oh.
like, Sheila, it doesn't even look like you.
So I think, as with anything, you develop your business personality. And my business personality definitely evolved from the bob and the pantsuits.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, none of that.
No, none of
Mm-mm.
that. Mm-mm.
Always the shoes. You can't see them, but she is in beautiful gold shoes. Like just the necklace, the gold. It's a moment.
Thank you. Thank you. So I think certainly for me, it's been an evolution over 20 years. If I think of how I did marketing, how I showed up 20 years ago, very different than,
Yes.
after the first 5 years, 10 years, 15.
Of
And then
course.
adding in becoming a writer, I published the first edition of Hired in 2016, fulfilling that grade 2 version of me and that dream. So I think certainly writing books, I found my voice.
Yes.
And that was that if you're not a writer, that seems like, what do you mean you found your voice? But the way I write is very much my personality.
100%.
Right?
You can hear your voice when you read your books, and it is hysterical because it's like I can hear you in my brain when I read your Hired book.
Everybody
100%
says
I can
that.
hear you.
Absolutely. So that time in writing my book, and I wrote my first book right before a big birthday. The ones that end in 0 have a way of kicking you in the ass
So
a
it was
little
her
bit.
30th. It's fine. We all suffered with our 30th, honey. I
Oh,
feel
my
you
goodness.
there.
Oh my goodness. So I had again trying to fulfill this goal of writing a book since I was in grade 2. The previous decade to that big birthday, you're so generous. I would write like mad, and then I would look at it the next day and go, I I dislike this all, and I would bury it.
Yep.
I did that for about a decade. So
Wow.
I did. I
Okay.
gave it a good try. And like, clearly this is not working.
You're like,
It is-
maybe I'm not going to be a writer. Sorry, sweetheart, but
I refuse to let that goal slide. So one of the things I talk about in the book is sometimes in your career, you need a paid mentor. Like we all look for, okay,
Yes.
can you download everything you know about real estate, Carrie Ann, and tell me it for free? No.
that's not going to happen.
No. So I talked about and that was a big bonk on the head. Like, of course you need a mentor. You know, like
Yes.
a paid mentor,
Yes.
an expert editor to guide me through the gargantuan task of writing a book.
It's huge.
So I found this amazing editor, and she helped me. We engaged for a 3-month contract, and one of the things she helped me do was to find my writing voice. And I wrote about it again in Mentors of when I hired her, I thought, you know what? I'm just going to dig some of this old stuff. I'll find it in the depths of my laptop
Go
and
back into the
dust it off
vault.
and put a little lipstick on, and it'll be fine.
Good.
And I read it, and I'm like, oh yeah, she's going to love this. Like, this is, it's not bad. And so I sent her, as requested, 2 chapters.
Okay.
Silence. And I thought, well, that's kind of, we're new. Like, maybe she's not a feedback person.
Right.
So we then are on our first call. And she remembers it differently than I do.
Oh, no.
But I said, okay, what do you think? And she said, who the hell wrote this shit? And then she said, wait, don't answer. She said, let me pull the fork out of my eye.
Oh, shots fired by the editor.
So she said, I've known her for years. She said, I've known you for a decade. You're fun. You're a standout. Why are you writing like this? And I said, well, that's how books on resumes and hiring and recruiting and interviewing, they're supposed to be boring. And she said, she did not miss a beat. And she said, why on earth would you want to write another book exactly like the hundreds of thousands of other really dull, boring books out there? And I'm like, good point. That's why you hire an expert.
See, and I could not agree with you more, Sheila. And I tell people this all the time, and they're like, "Oh, I don't need a mentor. I don't need a coach. I don't need that. I know it's a family business." That's great. Do you go to the gym? Yes. Have you ever worked with a trainer? Interesting. Have you ever worked with a nutritionist? Do you go to a doctor? We all have paid mentors in some way, shape, or form.
Absolutely.
And not everybody looks at it like that.
No.
But even for us, I fought having a trainer for the longest time. So I was like, I used to train football guys. Like, I've got my whole sports med. Like, I know muscles, I know structure, I know body, I know build, cut, you name it, I'm good. No, Carrie Ann. No. Because, sweetheart, you live in your own brain. Your own brain is going to tell you lies to make you feel better. You need a paid trainer to help be like, that's great, but today we're going to try this.
Yeah.
Or you need to be doing this because it's better for you. And I love that she called you out on a dull board because I can't see you. I actually physically can't see you being dull and boring. So the fact that that's how your writing sounded is also crazy to me because that makes no sense.
Well, I know, but if you've never written a book,
100%.
then you're like, well,
Facts.
let's just start with really
Basic information.
Right. And so thank goodness, because back to your earlier question, it was those conversations in those first 3 months that she's like, okay, we need to find your writing voice.
Yes.
And it needs to align with this.
Yes.
Because you're right. That would be.
People are going to read that book and look at you and be like, that's a lie. She did not write this. It's impossible.
So that was the beginning of finding how I was going to show up, and particularly how was I going to show up on stage? Because again, that has to match this,
Of course.
and it does, and it's in complete alignment. And
100%.
I love when, and everyone says that if they've met me, then they can hear my voice when they're
100%.
reading
I
my
basically
book.
got an Audibles experience when I read Hired because I was like, wow, that is Sheila. Oh, yeah, that's 100% what she sounds like. It was so weird. Because you do, like, you read, you read certain like memoirs or biographies and you think you know the human.
Yeah.
And then you read it and you're like, that's weird. That's not what I was expecting. It's very strange. And it's funny, actually, because my husband and I, very, very different topics set. But we had both read the Charles Manson
Oh.
But we really do love our true crime,
Yeah.
that side of things. Both of us had read it, and both of us were like, you're telling me that this was an interview with him in jail. And everything he's saying is like kind, loving, about the
Oh.
people. And I was like,
Huh.
strange. I came away feeling that can't be, I don't know if that's real. So you really do when you read certain pieces. And I think for something like Hired,
Yeah.
because I know I've read Hired twice.
Okay.
So for something like Hired, I think it is one of those books that you especially need to be like authentically loud about who you are, because I think it also gives like a Pavlov version of that you should be you. Because the people that don't want it don't need to want it. The people that are going to want you are going to want exactly the weirdness that you are.
Yeah.
And I loved that tone about Hired because it was so, yes, it was absolutely like nothing I had ever read that was anything to do with work and jobs and corporate aspect.
Right.
But it had such a more like inspirational tone for that, like you need to remember like why you started, what it's about, what your end goal is. And
Yeah.
it was just, it had such a beautiful tone start to finish in the book, which I think
Amazing.
is why I ended up reading it twice, because I'm pretty sure my brain really disagreed with my heart when I read it the first time. I was like, wow, that almost, I'm not going to call it a self-help because I know it isn't, but my brain took it very inspirationally
Oh, good.
loving. And so when I was talking about when I started onboarding agents and okay, like I was like, this would be a good book to pull from. I think this would be a really good book to pull. Okay, so I go digging for it and I start reading it the second time and I'm like, oh, I was right. This is exactly what I remember. But it was funny because the second time I read it, I heard your voice in not so much like a you can do it, but more like a this is how you structure it.
Yeah.
This is the things that are important. And it was crazy because they were two totally different parts of my life. Same book. And I pulled very different like
Amazing.
end game meanings out of it. So I think it was, and I think it's because it is written the way you talk.
Yeah.
Like, wholeheartedly. So I love that about Hired. And it
Amazing.
sounds like The Mentors is very much your quirky spin on like quick hits that
Yeah.
people don't pay attention to.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. So this Mentors was written in 2019.
Yes.
It started. I didn't plan on writing this book. It was not. It was not on my to-do list. It was not.
Okay.
So in 2008, late 18, I had delivered an opening keynote for backpacks to briefcases for Red Deer Polytech. And they said, we want you to do the Hired keynote, but do a keynote on mentors. I'm like, well, can you give me a little bit more than
Gotta
that?
have a little more.
No, they're like, just run with it. So I'm like, oh gosh, okay, great. So I wrote the very first version of what would become the book. I then ended up, about 2 months later, the president's office from the college called me and said, we loved that Mentors keynote. Would you be our convocation speaker? I'm like, oh my gosh, 100%. I'm so honored. Yes, absolutely. And then they said, but you've got 8 minutes. And I'm like, dear me, I can't say hello in 8 minutes.
8 minutes is like, that's not gonna fly.
No. And so I said, okay, challenge accepted. I wanted to be funny and memorable. And I
Yes.
said to people, I want you to remember at least one nugget from this address by the time you walk out of this convocation hall.
Yes.
Well, I love it. That was in 2017.
Okay.
And when I'm back on campus, I still have people who were in that audience say, I still remember. Which is pretty darn
That's
cool.
incredibly powerful.
Yes. So then it still wasn't a book yet. So I delivered probably about 5 versions of the keynote, and it was finding its legs and it was finding it. And then I was delivering a keynote for a women's conference in Jasper.
Yes.
And brought my mom along. We did a road trip because I grew up in Hinton, and I said to Mom, let's go for a road trip.
Yes.
So did this keynote. And oh my gosh, I wrote about it in the book. It was an after dinner keynote,
Okay.
which as a keynote speaker, that's probably the worst place to be.
Yeah.
Because it was a big buffet dinner.
Oh no.
Desserts as far as you could see.
Yep.
Big bottles of wine.
Oh, everybody's
And
tryptophan naps are
Yeah.
happening.
Oh, and the room was hot.
Oh,
And even
Lord.
so, my mom looked at me and she's like, "Dear, do you have like, are you good?"
You're like, Mom,
I've got
you're
it.
not helping. I'm good. I'm fine.
So delivered this keynote, and I could see the organizer. I have her permission to use what she said to me, and I can't remember what page it's on, but I could see her. She knew I was wrapping up, and she was at the back of the room, and I could see her beelining over to the side of the stage. So I'm wrapping up, and then she says, so applause and then she said, "Come over," and she just said, "Sheila, that was fabulous." So I said, "Can I put that in the book?"
Oh,
and
I
she
love
said,
it.
"Yes, absolutely." So then I'm meeting with people that were there, and they're like, "Oh yeah, no, we don't want the book, the hired book. We want the book based on this keynote." And I'm like, "Well, I don't have that book."
There is no book. The keynote, that's me. I am the book. You're welcome.
Didn't you just hear what I said? Just write it down. So then driving all the way back from Jasper back to Calgary, I kept saying to my mom, "Really? Do you think that could be a book?" And she's like, "Well, I'm like, really? Oh, I have to write a book." So that was November of 18, and then this book was published in April of 19.
Wow.
Yeah. So that one was a bit of a. It took over that time frame. It probably took about. I'm saying probably about 14, 18 days to write it. But I have to tell you, so this little quirky book didn't mean it, but it's a quirky book.
I love it. Well, I
It's
mean, it has
quirky.
a rubber ducky on the cover.
Exactly.
What's the rubber ducky about?
Well, let me tell you another story. So it's about the duck. So I was running one night. I'm a bit of a runner. Slowly, not great, not gracefully, but I run.
Love it.
Yeah, so I try not to trip. That's it.
Honestly, if you come home with totally normal knees, it was a win.
Well, yeah.
Oh no, she's got a cut on her knee. See, I am the one that'll go like knees first. I feel that in my soul.
Side story. I was on my way. The Bay, of course, is closing.
Yes.
And I have had a Bay gift certificate from my parents. I believe it would be 29 years old. It was actually part of an engagement when I was married. I'm now very divorced, long time ago. Wow. So I said to Mom, "I've got to get to the Bay to spend this gift certificate." She's like, "You go." I'm going to go and buy myself an engagement present from you and Dad to me.
Yes.
Just to be. So I was all dolled up. I had my sunglasses on, my jewelry, and I'm just strolling down Stephen Avenue Mall in the middle of the afternoon. I was upright and then I wasn't. I folded like a cheap tent in the middle of Stephen Avenue.
It happens.
It happens.
To the best of us.
Like
I mean, to be totally fair, Stephen Avenue in a pair of heels.
But it's
an art form.
They were platform boots. There's no way I should have gone down. And then
I was prepared.
they were a good, sensible platform over the knee boot. I had a long skirt on over the knee boots. I still managed to skin my knee. I don't know how. But anyway.
Wow.
Anyway.
Something I would do.
Sidebar story.
It really is.
Anyway, so one night I was running and I was thinking, I had the first edition of Hired was published in 2016.
Okay.
So we're now in, what year was that? 2021. Probably
Okay.
21. And I'm thinking, I really, really, really need to write a second edition. But my first book was that was my baby. And it became an Amazon bestseller. It stayed a bestseller for 7 years.
She was an Amazon bestseller within the first 24 hours.
Well, and then the second one, first 3 hours on this one. Yeah, this one. Well, you learn how to market. So, yeah.
Sheila,
Yeah, that one.
is insane.
Well, and then I have a story about the Ukrainian version.
I can't wait to hear that because I have questions.
Oh, my goodness. So I was running one night and I'm like, who can I get some advice from on publishing a second edition or more editions? So I'm running. I'm thinking, who? Well, David Chilton, the
Yes.
wealthy barber,
Yes.
otherwise known as the Nice Dragon from the Dragon's Den.
Yes.
He popped to mind. So I'm like, okay. So I wipe the sweat off, run upstairs, open my laptop, Google David Chilton. His website came up right away.
Yeah.
He is funny.
Really?
For a finance guy, read his website. You will
Okay.
laugh out loud. I think I even snorted.
That's okay. I'm gonna have to read that.
It's funny. So, and his email address was really easy to find. So I thought, well, great. So I'm wiping the sweat off, and I type up an email to David Chilton. So, hi, Dave. I'm Sheila. I'm a Calgary-based recruitment firm owner, Amazon best-selling author of a book. Here's the links to both of my books.
Okay.
Added a bit of humor. Then my question was, David, would you have a single nugget of wisdom for a fellow author looking to write a second edition? I'd love to hear from you. Here's my phone number. Added a bit more humor, which I thought was really funny. Then I thought, it's now 9:30, 10 Eastern. I'll wait until tomorrow to send the email. So I got to the office, opened my laptop, read the email, and I'm like, damn, that's funny. Like that.
God damn, I'm good.
That is funny. Like, that's witty. That was some witty work, girl. So then I'm like, send. So then I thought, well, if anything, right, that's another it's a fun story.
Totally.
So I start chatting with my team. Okay, what are we working on today? Blah, blah, blah. Well, then my phone rings. And I look down, and it was a GTA, a Toronto area code.
Okay.
So I pick up the phone. Sheila speaking. Hey, Sheila. It's Dave. Dave Chilton. Well, hello, Dave.
Like, everybody stop what you're doing. I got to take this.
It's like, hello, Dave. Well, Dave just got straight to the point. He's like, got your email. Thanks for including the links. I looked at both of your books on Amazon, and that's when I'm like, oh my God, Dave Chilton looked at my books.
That's amazing.
So he got straight to the point. He's like, this hired book, you know what to do with it. Everyone who needs a job needs this book. So just run with it. But he said, this duck book, however, he said, you could sell hundreds of thousands of copies of this book into corporate North America. And here's how. And he said, companies are always looking for gifts for their employees, which have a built-in kick in the butt
Of course.
Kind of message, or they're looking for gifts for conferences. So here's how I would recommend you go about selling a few 100,000 copies of your book. So I got what I call a mini mentor session from Dave Chilton. And so I always joke when I share that story in my keynotes. Yes, I do read my own books and take my own advice. I get my own mentors. I ask for mini mentor sessions. But yeah, the mini mentor, powerful. So what a mini mentor session is let's say you want advice from, I don't know, who's the biggest real estate mogul? Like,
Well, in Calgary, it's probably going to be Justin Haver.
right. So
Yes.
great, just no question. And then in his commercial, of course, it is Barbara Corcoran.
Yes.
So you could reach out to either of those. Well, you may know Justin, but maybe you do, maybe you don't. What you would do, reach out just like I did with an email or a note through LinkedIn
Yes.
with an ask on one question. I'd love your advice on. Just
I
one.
love that.
So that's a mini mentor session.
Okay.
Because you're just asking for a single nugget. And think about how powerful that is, because the world, you could reach Barbara Corcoran. You could
100%.
reach anyone in the entire world. Everyone is accessible. It's whether you reach them through Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever,
Yes.
and ask for one single mini mentor moment.
I love that.
Isn't that
I think
incredible?
That's brilliant.
I didn't know that, but I took my own advice after. So I gave some examples of mini mentors, but then I'm like, wait a minute.
I need this.
I read that book. Oh, wait a minute. I wrote it. So,
That was a great point. That
That was
author
a
was
really-
onto something.
so that's, and I love when I'm delivering that part of the keynote. And I love that story because it just makes someone like David Chilton, who is world renowned,
Yes.
so accessible. Like, and make it really easy. Don't be afraid to be human and add in a bit of humor. Like, he's clearly funny. I think I'm hilarious some days. Not
We all
always.
have moments where we're like, oof, that was good.
That was fantastic.
Nice little quip. That was perfect.
So, so I ended up with a mini mentor session from David Chilton. Now, I'll be honest, I have not sold a couple 100,000 copies yet.
Yeah, well,
But it's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming. So you asked, why is there a duck on the cover?
I've got to know, because I have a plug in my brain that I have a feeling this duck could be revolving around.
Okay.
So I'm curious.
Okay, well, it's kind of it's the last chapter. So I talk about at the end of the chapter, it is, don't wait to take action. And I've had a Napoleon Hill quote on my computer monitor since the day I opened. It's a little tattered. It's a little yellow because did I mention 20 years old tomorrow?
Tomorrow is
Tomorrow.
amazing. Okay.
So it's a Napoleon Hill quote, which means just start. And I used a quote from Arthur Ashe in my book, which is, he's a tennis pro. And essentially it is, don't worry about getting everything perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Just, you need to take one step to start.
Yes.
So the reason the duck is on the cover is because at the end of the book I say, just take action. Don't worry about getting all of your ducks in a row before taking action. Just start with
Yes.
one damn duck.
Yes.
That's it.
Okay, see, so I love this because I was reading a book and it was a hilarious, not even intended to be purchased
Yeah.
book. And because I have all of the full series on the book of Hygge. I have all of them because I love these like little, I call them fluff reads when
Yeah.
my brain just needs to unplug, but I want to read something.
Yeah.
And I was reading one of these books and he is remarkable about finding ways to make everyday mundane things happy and exciting. And
that.
so I'm reading this book and I'm actually getting ready to start delivering more public coaching sessions. And so I'm reading this from the coaching brain mindset because that is something for me that's like a pinch me moment. And so I'm making all these notes and I'm sitting at home and my husband's working upstairs in the bonus room and I just start howling. Tim comes down and he's like, "What are you laughing?" I'm like, "I gotta read you this because this is so me in spades and I love this to pieces." And you touched on it perfectly when you talked about that keynote where like, I need you to remember one nugget. He talks about that when you're delivering training, coaching, anything, there's no way that everybody is going to remember everything you say all of the time. It's impossible. We're human. We just don't work that way. And he goes, "I was delivering a speech and I got up on stage and I decided to go up on stage with my son's very realistic looking armor, like shield, little shield." And he's like, walked up on stage holding my shield. I said nothing about the shield. Just started delivering my speech. Said nothing about the shield. Didn't even address the shield. He goes, about tail end of the speech, I'm still holding the shield. I've played with it, I've rubbed it, I've cleaned it a couple times.
Oh my gosh.
It's really just kind of been a part of it. And he goes, my speech was about drilling mechanics. Nothing to do with the shield, not even like a funny plug. And at the end, I opened up the forum and asked anybody if they had any questions. Every person in the audience puts a hand up. And he's like, "Wow, I thought I was doing really good." No. Okay, so lights come on in the room. And he goes, "Okay, first question." The guy's like, "Dude, the shield. What is with the shield?" And he goes, "Did you remember anything else about the speech?" And he's like, "No, I just love that you stood up there the entire time with the shield." And he goes, "So you'll remember me." And he goes on to explain the psychology behind the shield. And he goes, "Every speech I've done, I now bring a shield. I prop it up against the chair. I hold it. I play with it. I might use it. I might, I don't know, put it around the mic." And he goes, "I have now gotten to the point where at the 3 campuses that I deliver most of my speeches at, everybody's like, 'You're the shield guy. You're the shield guy." And he goes, "So I have name tags that say the shield guy with my name underneath it." And he goes, "I had to come up with a way because my content was dry and boring and just not exciting."
Resumes.
Right? So but the same like what you were saying, like
Yeah.
it's that dry content sounds like every other presentation, every other
Yes.
book on resumes and how to get hired. And I thought it was so fun that he was like, I just needed to find a way to stand out.
Yeah.
And I was leaving the house and there was this little gold knight shield. And he's like, "It's just become a plug. It's in my logo now." And he goes, it is what has made people be like, "You got to bring in that guy, the shield guy."
Yeah.
And he goes, "If you Google me, the shield guy, I pop up." And he goes, "It's remarkable to me that something so small
Yeah.
is what stuck with people so much," which is why I was hoping that the duck was a very similar, not all your ducks need to be in a row.
No,
Just
absolutely.
start with one little rubber ducky.
One little rubber ducky. And when I do that keynote, of course, I have ordered, I can't tell you how many hundreds and hundreds of rubber ducks I've ordered because I give them out during my keynotes as a reminder.
See?
Right? So
I love that
Yeah.
so much. Oh my goodness. Okay. So
Yeah.
then I am dying to know because you have
Yes.
done amazing things. You have done so many cool things and you have so many cool things coming up like tomorrow,
Yeah.
which I'm hoping means there's like a celebration in play because 20 years is a big deal.
Right.
Of all of the amazing things you've done, I know we've kind of like talked on COVID a little bit,
Yeah.
selling the office, that kind of thing. What are, and I don't ever like to take like the fun vibe and on
Yeah.
it, but I always want, especially in this podcast, I always want people to come away with the ability to see the amazing things that you've done, the remarkable things that you are doing, like the Ukrainian book, like the best-selling author in 3 hours. I think that is unbelievable. And I want people to understand that it wasn't always just the Care Bear countdown.
Yeah.
From start to finish with TAG Recruitment. So is there anything that, that stands out as a factor of, something that almost broke this remarkable career that you've built, this business that you've built? And did it change the business for you or did you just rebuild and keep going?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I mean, I love that question because like, which one am I going to pick? Like, it's not all Fruit Loops and sunshine. It
Really
is
isn't.
not.
It's
It
a
is
lot of
not.
trenches.
It is a lot
It's
of
a lot of wiping
trenches.
the sweat off and scrape knees.
Yeah,
It is.
absolutely. So we'll come back to the Ukraine book because I have a good story
Oh,
there.
good.
But
Okay.
the moments, there were probably three big moments that I'm like, ouch, that hurt. 5 years into my company, it was immediate. I was really fortunate. We landed contracts immediately. It was from the minute I opened, I think I was quiet for 3 weeks, and then it was like, boom, off and running. Luck and timing, and who like, yeah. So,
course.
was it a brilliant strategy? No, I still have a half-written business plan that I've never completed.
That's
No,
amazing.
right?
Best-selling author, but a half-written business plan. See, this is what I'm talking about. Nobody talks about this stuff.
Because no, I didn't ever finish it. So 5 years in, I opened in '05.
Yep.
2010, I was married when I opened. I got divorced.
Okay.
So that was a whole, not the divorce part. That was the financial piece of, oh yeah, dear, we're breaking up. Whoops, sorry, I hit the
Oh,
microphone.
yeah, we're hand talkers. It happens.
Just the amount of money that I built this business the first 5 years, it's going gangbusters. And then it was, oh, by the way, you should have probably put in some sort of documentation in the event of a divorce.
Oh, no.
I there were times I just couldn't even speak. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? Oh, and I'll never. So anyway, I got over it. Like, it's just money, you make more. But holy Hannah, at that point, like, if there was ever a moment that I was a little bit crazy on what to do, like, anyway, you get, and I have one of my dearest friends, his name truly is James Bond.
That is.
Yeah, it's
His
epic.
parents are amazing
They
humans.
they are amazing. They're
Really
like,
named that one on the head.
that little James Bond movie that came out. There's nothing that's going to happen with it, so
Nobody will know.
No one will know. So
That's amazing.
James is a dear friend of mine. He was a corporate lawyer. Now he's gone in house, but he was a guide during that time. And
Yes.
I'm not an emotional person. I think in 20 years there were 2 times where a tear fell out.
By accident. It escaped.
And one of them was when I'm like, oh my God, James, what am I going to do? Like, he wants this amount of money out of my company. Like, oh my God. And so James, so matter of factly, and I shed a tear, and he's like, honey, I much prefer when we're drinking champagne and laughing. So
I need a James Bond in my life. Drinking champagne and laughing. I need to be part of
So
more
he's
of those
like,
meetings.
just break the checks down, just write them and make more money. I'm like, okay, well, all right, you make it sound that easy.
You make it sound so simple.
So that was one where, advice, always get really good legal advice, but also protect your business. I would have never, when opening that company, I would have
Yes.
never thought about writing something in to protect the asset that I was building.
Of course not.
No one ever thinks that.
Your brain doesn't go there
No,
first.
no. So the next big break it was, again, some advice from James Bond. When I first opened, I'm like, yeah, I just opened a company last week. And he lives in another city. And so he said, TAG Recruitment, that's a really cool name and a really cool logo. You need to trademark. I'm like, trademark? What the heck? And so he's like, that's a cool name. Like, you need to protect it. So I'm like, fine. So kicking and screaming, reluctantly, I think I parted with $5,000 to get 5 trademarks. So thank goodness, because he said, cool name like TAG, people may want to borrow it. I'm like, So I've had 4 runs at companies. One, just taking my website, cutting it, pasting it, and changing the color.
Wow.
So when a cease and desist letter comes from James Bond with a little sizzle on it, it's like, ooh, that's good.
Oh, that one feels hot to touch. Okay.
So that was good. But there was one that I went the distance. I was firm about how much confusion there was in the marketplace between our 2 companies. And that's one
Okay.
of the litmus tests for a trademark infringement. Is there confusion in the marketplace? So we went the distance. We were one step away from going to court.
Wow.
So I invested, and it was 2 or 3 years. Now, in hindsight, we won. We did get the judgment.
Okay.
But in hindsight, holy smokes, did I spend a lot of money. That in those recession years, would I have preferred to have that in checking?
Keep it a little bit closer. Yeah.
So that was one where it was okay. And I that was probably a little bit of my ego, to be really honest, of like,
Yep.
you know what?
You can't have it.
You can't. No. And I'm right. So, but I'm right came at a cost of a
But that's
shit
a
ton of money.
super fair point, because
Yeah.
once you get to that point in business and you see things like that happening, it's like, no, you won't, because
No.
that's my baby.
Yeah.
You can't just go leech off of the side of my baby and profit from it. Like, that's not going to work.
No.
So I would wholeheartedly respond the same way. I would bullhead straight into that oncoming traffic,
I did.
because there's no
Complete-
stopping me.
No.
And that'll be the only time I run in heels and won't fall.
Yeah, probably.
Then I
fact,
will
I
be
think I
ready
did.
to fall every second of it, but it's the only time I don't actually bail. And we've been in a few of the same types of legs, never trademark infringement, but we've had the same thing. And I mean, obviously in real estate, it's a lot harder because so much of the marketing is like identical.
Yeah.
And the message is so similar and everything is
And in
so
recruiting,
alike.
too.
Very similar,
Yeah.
right? So it's that muddy water becomes
Yeah.
super muddy when it's like, okay, you know, like, well, you can't say that, but you can say the same thing and phrase it this way. And it's like, well, but that's what they're doing. And I don't want to sound this. And of course, this was before our, chat GPTs and all of our AI. Like, how can I rewrite this?
Yeah.
Resources were available. And so I don't know how many times Tim and I would sit there and go like, well, how about, like, if we can't write it that way because that mogul's doing it, and we can't do it that way because that mogul's doing it, we can't do it that way because that's a U.S. mogul that owns it.
Yeah.
How do we pump it out and make it not gonna come back and bite us in the ass?
Yeah.
So it is difficult, but the ego piece of it, that ego, I totally understand, because I would
did.
be in the same boat with you.
I did, but it was
It's an expensive ego.
buckets and I still think of that. I'm like, okay, well, I did it. And then the other one was the pandemic. It was when no one is hiring. I mean, we've been through how many recessions and downturns.
Yeah.
I mean, when my business would be thriving one week and then the next week it's like, oh yeah, those 30 people, we no longer need them. Like, oh my God. So, but the pandemic was duly hard because we were competing with people preferring not to work, and hey, I get it. That was so we didn't have people and we hardly had any job orders. So I remember those were dark days. And I remember one afternoon I'm looking, it was probably, we were maybe probably a month, 2 months into the pandemic, and I'm just seeing my business just falling off. And I remember, again, just the second time, one afternoon, I do remember it, a tear, it fell.
It escaped.
It escaped. And then I'm like, get it together.
We are fine. We're not doing this today.
So it was fine. We recovered through it, but holy smokes, yeah.
That's scary.
It is. But then a funny one, early on, I've been really lucky. I've had paying clients, and not many that default, and a couple have. But the funniest, when I was driving over, I'm like, I have to tell Carrie on this. The funniest person that defaulted on an invoice, I think it was in the first year, maybe the first 1 or 2 years. So I placed temporary employees with this fellow, and he couldn't pay the invoice, but he offered to give me a tractor.
Oh,
What am I going to do with my gold heels?
or
and
I'm not sure
a tractor.
if the clutch and my stilettos is gonna. A tractor.
A tractor. He promised to deliver it, but I actually have just never seen the tractor.
Oh,
I should write about that.
you should. The tractor needs to be a part 2, tenfold.
Maybe in another version of Mentors, the tractor will appear.
Yes,
Yeah.
unexpected mentors and unexpected
Payment options.
payment options. One of which that isn't card or cash.
Right.
It's tractor.
Tractor. Yeah.
Check D for all. Thank you. And I think, like, it's wild to me. And I love that you brought up the tractor, because my dad always says to me, it's in every industry, somebody is going to challenge your cost.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't want to pay that, or I'll wait till it goes on sale, or I'll wait till I have a coupon, whatever.
Right.
My dad has always said, for as long as I can remember, I don't know a single person that's ever been able to walk into Safeway with a jug of milk and go, "Can I just give you a hug?
Yeah.
Just, I really need the milk. Can I just give you a hug?" And Dad's like, I don't understand how people pick and choose what industries are
Right.
worth paying for and worth not paying for.
100%.
Especially when you've agreed to it in advance
Yeah, absolutely.
of knowing that the bill is coming.
Yeah.
But a tractor.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes, I've had that conversation. I'm glad you brought that up with not many, but certainly a handful of clients over the years. They're like, "Okay, great. You found this amazing person for us. Like they are stellar." And when the invoice comes, they're like, "But I'd like to pay half that." So so I have to relate it to back to another product. So
Yes.
this one gentleman, I said, well, let's say I go into a store and I find the most gorgeous pair of gold heels.
Yes.
And I buy them and I walk out and I love these shoes. But, 2 weeks later, I'm like, to your point earlier, a 5-inch heel, your knees hurt. So if I come back into your store 2 months later and say, I love these heels, I love them, like I will wear them forever, but they hurt my knees, could I have a refund?
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
No.
But no, you're absolutely right. And it's in service-based business, real estate, recruitment, where
Always.
it's like, oh, you found that amazing house for me, but it was too easy, so I'd only like to pay half the commission.
That's right. And we run into that all the time where it's like, well, what do you, like we've run into it where we'll have a closing day and the lawyer will call us and go, "So just heads up for you. The client is asking me to withhold payout for you." And it's like, what do you mean? Why? What did I do? "Oh, no. They love you. They have like sung your praises all day. They just are looking at like the final bill and they've just asked that we withhold."
Yeah, no.
Super.
I'll just take all the doors off that house.
Yeah, that's right. That's amazing. So let them know that we could put we'll deal with the title a little differently so that the house doesn't close, and then I'll get a call back to him. They're totally fine paying the
Good stuff.
Superb. I'm so happy that we were able to come to it and go, like, what?
Oh, my gosh.
I have busted it for 3 months. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh, yeah, now that I see all the numbers here, I think we'll just ditch that one. And then it doesn't look so bad. It's like,
No.
like see, and that's, so I'm curious because I've had this conversation with a few different people. So like when you hire a lawyer, you pay a retainer.
Yes.
The lawyer isn't doing anything until that retainer is paid. And then you get an invoice of additional things outside of the retainer completed. So with TAG, is it that they agree to a contract and that the amount for the contract is only due after you've done the work?
On permanent search, yes.
Okay.
That's how it works.
So very similar to real estate then.
Very. You don't get paid until you deliver.
Remarkable. Because I don't know how many times people have gone, well, yeah, but like you make enough money when you do this that like you can't tell me that you need all of that. No, you're right. I do enjoy my yacht in Chestermere just for fun because, I mean, what else am I going to do with the buckets of money that I am making? Pardon me. The buckets of money that I pour half out of every time I work with people. And but it's hilarious because I have now learned, because I can be a little bit of an angry squirrel. And so I had to learn very early on, especially thanks to my husband, because he is very much the calm in my storm. And I would just go like fire. And he would look at me and go, no, anger is not going to solve that problem. And I'd be like, oh, it will. Just hold my beer. And so we would have this conversation and I would, you'd get upset or you'd be like, how does that make any sense? Like I don't even understand where the notion comes from. And now I'm at the point in the career where I can give examples instead of giving an answer.
Yeah.
And people will look at me like, oh, well, when you
Put it that way.
when you say it like that, I mean, it sounds awful. Because it is. But that's okay. I'm going to let you get there on your own, and I'm just going to help you I'm going to coach you through it.
Yeah.
That's okay. As long as we get to the same place at the end, everybody is winner, winner, chicken dinner. And it's ironic how many people, but at the tractor, I haven't heard that yet.
Isn't that fantastic?
I do really think that you should follow up on the tractor.
I need to write. I need to write a blog about that.
The tractor needs to happen because that is such a remarkable gift. Okay, so before we run out of time,
Yes.
I have to know the Ukrainian book.
Yeah. So
We had a glitch We had a little click in the matrix. So the Ukrainian book.
Okay.
Yes.
So it started first with this one. After my David Chilton
Yes.
advice, I did publish the second edition.
Okay.
I wrote, so the funny story about this book, I drastically expanded from the first edition.
Okay.
It's much bigger than the first edition.
It is
It's massive.
substantially
Yes, I added 5 or 6 new chapters, probably another 150 pages of content. Now, here's the funny story. I wrote this book in 6 days. I don't recommend writing a book in 6 days.
It's like the F1 for writing a book.
Oh my God! Well,
Sheila.
money motivates me. So I hired my editor again, and she's worth every bit. But I'm like, here's the deadline. So I said, great, I'm going to hire you for a month. And so then I'm like, well, wait a minute, Sally, you need to get the book done in 3 weeks because we need a week of editing. So 6 days. I printed all the chapters off on the final Sunday, and I can only write on weekends. So Saturday,
Right.
and there's no, I have to wait for the creative mind to hit. No, it's like I'm on a deadline.
doing it.
We're writing right now.
Yes.
So I finished the book on a Sunday afternoon, printed all the chapters, laid them out on my dining room table. And because I'm so visual, it's like, okay, here's the order of the book. Then I FaceTimed my mom, and I said, Mom, the book is done. And she's like, you look kind of tired.
You're like, Mom, it's been 6 days. I just wrote a whole book.
So anyway, so published it. This one, so this is the one I'm so proud. It did become an Amazon bestseller in just over 3 hours.
That is
Amazing.
remarkable.
I'm so excited. So excited. Okay, so this did really well. This book was published in, I think it was May of 2022. May
Okay.
of 22. So then at the same time in 2022, the war had just broke out in Ukraine. Yes. And I don't know about you, but there's something about people fleeing with their kids and their babies and
the
their
media
stuffies.
just alone was awful.
It was terrible. And so many Ukrainians were landing in Canada.
Yes.
So I was on with my editor mentor because we continue working on coaching.
Yes.
And we were brainstorming, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to get the book translated to Ukrainian. And so I did. So, but I have to tell you some big mistake. So I published the book. I found a guy on Fiverr
Yes.
who is based in Ukraine, and he
Okay.
translated the book. Now, I don't speak the language, so I had to make sure there was no funny stuff.
Correct. Just a couple of plugs here and there. Oh.
So I put out on Facebook, does anyone know of any newcomer that speaks fluent Ukrainian and English? So a friend of mine said, yeah, actually my neighbor has a woman, a young woman, she's just arrived from Ukraine last week. She has a degree in linguistics, etc.
Oh, wow.
So I printed the manuscript, went to Market Mall, met her in the food court, handed over my manuscript. And, please don't sell it. And
For the love of God, just am trusting that this is going to go the way it is in my head.
right? That
Yeah.
was exactly all of that was going through my head. So then the funniest thing, bless her, and she was amazing. She was amazing. She called me about an hour later. So the formal title of my book is Hired, How to Get the Zippy Gig, Insider Secrets from a Top Recruiter.
Yes.
Now, had I known how many times in the last 10 years I would say that, I probably would have left it at hired, but I didn't. So she
much more
called,
fun is the mouthful.
right? Or unexpected mentors, weird and creative ideas to boost your career. Like, holy smokes.
It's
Anyway,
a you book title.
it is. It is. So my lovely translator called me and said, in her beautiful accent, "What does zippy mean?" And I'm like, "Wow, okay, that's a really good question."
is.
I'm like that. Let's go to Urban Dictionary
How do I figure out a way to
because
explain
I'm like,
this?
how, and I can't even remember. And she's like, "Oh, well, that's oh." So I'm like, okay, no judging.
Okay, but at least we had Zippy still in there, and it's not something freaky.
So she did a beautiful job. So I think I'm kind of a smart marketer. Now, I come up with snippets of smart, every once in a while.
Always.
Once in a while. So of course my books are all white and red.
Yes.
White and red.
Yes.
So when I published, you know where I'm going, this book I published in white and red. That didn't really bode well with the Ukrainian people. That's not a color they align with. No. So the book was a flop, like a serious flop. I was at career fairs with thousands of Ukrainian newcomers, and I would sell 2 copies. I'm like, what the heck?
What am I doing wrong?
And what? Well, so I published the wrong version, the red version, in November 22. It took me until July of like, I'm like, what? What's going wrong?
happening?
Why? What? Well, it hit me like a ton of bricks. Yeah, red is not a favorite color of the Ukrainians,
So the blue title and the yellow.
and bestseller the same day.
Wow.
Yeah.
That quick.
That's the difference with marketing.
Sheila, don't lie to me.
I'm
that
not
quick?
Yeah, it was the same day.
So, okay, we have to do like a little side by side.
Yes.
So red
Yes.
and white.
We love, as Canadians,
We do.
we love a good red.
We do love a good red.
But the Ukrainians love a good blue and yellow. They're not so fond of the red, which may be considered the color of the other's flag.
Okay. I think this, I can't believe. So the day that you published this
Yeah.
from the red and white, you
Yes.
were bestseller same
Yes.
day.
Yes. And the outpouring of love in marketing was like, oh my gosh, you published it in our beloved colors. It was like the red ones didn't exist. Now, also funny on a marketing faux pas, there were all of these job fairs. So I pre-ordered, I brought it, I think I have 100, no, I probably 200 copies of the red version that can never see the
They
day
just
of
are
light.
going to be wonderful memories.
The bonfire.
Bonfire,
I'm
fire
not
starters,
sure. I'm not
scrap
sure what-
paper. We're not
but-
sure.
But this one, yeah, this one is amazing.
So
Yeah.
so you just had the thought one day
Yeah.
to go to the blue and yellow.
Yeah. Well, it occurred to me what I'm like, what, right? Is the entrepreneurial
Always.
mind. It's like,
What am I doing wrong?
spinning,
Why isn't
spinning.
this
so
working?
Why?
Yep.
And then I'm like, oh, yeah, it's the color. Because of course that's the opposition's color. So yeah, I'm like, so I love Fiverr, and so I have this amazing team. Goran is in Croatia. He's done all my book covers, and then in my book, oh my gosh, and I'll shout out to my my designer, Bro.
Yes, for the infamous, this is Sheila's, what is your Bitmoji, her avatar.
Yes.
And this is literally your Instagram. Every time something from your Instagram pops up, I adore that it is your avatar. I'm like, that is absolutely Sheila.
Yeah, so I have a dude in where is he? I think Sri Lanka.
Okay.
And he sends me pictures of his children, which are beautiful, and he's done all of my work
I love
in my
that
books.
you're so like stretched out
Yeah.
in where like you're willing, because like I don't know many authors, especially in these types
Yeah.
of industries, that are like, well, I have a book, well, I'm going to have it translated.
Yeah.
Because I think that was such a beautiful way for you to kind of
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
spread and welcome in this very, like, you need this as much as everybody else is needing it, especially now.
Yes.
But to translate it, I think is remarkable. I love that.
Oh, thank you.
When I saw that come out, I was like, actually, I got like super emotional because I mean, I know you.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there with Tim and I was like, babe, she had her book translated into Ukrainian. And Tim was like, is she from the Ukraine? No,
No.
she's not. And then I was like, wait, no, she's not. No, she's not. No, she's not. Tim was like, why? Like, because she's helping people get work. Tim's like, okay, that's actually amazing. And my husband is like a very stoic human.
Yeah.
And so when my husband says things like that, that would be like the equation of you and I jumping up and down doing jumping jacks. So, and I was really floored because I know, like, all the way back when we used to work together,
Yeah.
you have always been, you say you're not emotional. You've had two tears escape. That is okay. But you are all heart in everything that you put yourself into. And I've always loved that about you. And the
Thank you.
Ukrainian book, I think, showcases it beautifully.
Oh, thanks.
Because your other books are just, I mean, yeah, they sound like you. Now that you've watched the podcast, go read the books. I'm telling you, you will hear Sheila's voice in the book. And that, no, it's not like, press this page to hear Sheila speak. It is, you will just hear her. But I think it is really beautiful that you went the lengths for the Ukrainian book, that you went to a few different people to make sure that there's, nothing
wrong.
a little weird that's going to sound or come across wrong. And I love that it came back to you with like, what is zippy? What does zippy mean? Like, what the heck is zippy? Why are we talking about zippy?
What does that mean?
What does that mean? Because you never think about these
No.
things, but when you say it, we understand it. Just get the zippy gig.
Yeah.
Like, you totally know what that is referring to.
Yeah.
But for other people, it's so fun to. So did you keep zippy?
Oh yeah, it is. Well, as far as I know.
But as far as I know, it is still zippy.
As far as I know.
So did any of the content of the manuscript change to address those things, or you just kept it as your book?
Yeah, because my voice had to, like, that's my voice.
Yes.
So it's not like I'm all of a sudden going to sound Ukrainian.
No.
I can't. So
That's
it is, it's a direct translation. And then I love this story. The woman that translated the book, she was a newcomer.
Yes.
So she translated the book, and I said, okay, you need to put that as work on your resume. And then so of course, I said, send your resume to me. I'll take a look. Then one of my clients called and said, I need someone kind of in admin, accounting, a bit of data entry, a bit of this, a bit of that. I'm like, oh. So I called my translator and I said, hey, you've now read my book many times in English and in Ukrainian. Update your resume based on my book. So she did a great job, sent it to me. I sent it to my client, and my client said, that's the best resume I've ever seen. I'm like, well, yeah.
You're like, did you forget who you hired? Of course, the
She's
resume is
read
fire.
my book. So and then she ended up landing landing a full-time job a few months later with that client, and that helped her with her permanent residency.
Sheila, that's amazing.
Isn't that fantastic? Yeah.
Oh my! This like entire episode just like filled me with like the yummy good feelings of everything.
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay, so all 3 books are available on Amazon.
Correct. The
Okay.
first one is the first edition. Bless that first edition. It's still there, but I always say to people, and I can't take it down. I just can't. I know,
No.
but this one is the one you want, the second edition. So I always
Okay.
say, buy the one with the giant circle next to my head, and my hair is much higher on the second edition.
Bigger your hair is, the closest you are to Jesus.
Right?
See, I'm here for a good big hair moment because
Yep.
I love it. I love this hair needs to stay being the hair we rock because this hair is so good. So all of the books are on Amazon. I will put all of the links. I will
Amazing.
have the links from Sheila to make sure I give the correct links with the correct circle beside her head.
Right.
I will put it all in the pinned comment. I will also include your website because I can include that. Is there anything that you want me to share so people can find you, fun things you're doing, where they can get updates on you?
Yeah, well, LinkedIn.
LinkedIn,
Connect
okay.
with me on LinkedIn. I publish a lot there, but I have two websites. One is my name, SheilaMusgrove.com.
Okay.
And that's more about books, writing, the coaching I do, training, all of those pieces.
Okay.
So that's that website. The 2 websites link to each other.
Okay.
I also have written hundreds of blogs with a sense of humor.
Yes,
with a sense of
always.
humor. And I tend to write about, well, I did write about David Chilton,
Yes.
of course, in that moment. And
That's a huge moment.
that was so much fun.
bonkers to me.
Love
love
that one.
that.
So, or go to the TAG website, which is hideseekfind.com.
Hide, seek, find.
And because it was originally tagrecruitmentgroup.com, but can you imagine spelling Sheila at TAGRECRITMENT? Oh, start again. Sure. So then I'm
Where
like,
did
there's
we leave off? TAG. Okay, here we go.
So then I went, it has to be easier. So hide, seek, find, because the name of TAG is all about the game of where's the best talent hiding. We're going to
Yes.
seek them out, find, tag, they're in. So hideseekfind.com.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Oh
for
my
coming
God,
on here
it's
with me
so
today.
great to reconnect with
I
you, and I
know.
love.
After our shameless plug of
You
our
have to include that
barbecue sauce at TAG Recruitment and the infamous red couch
and red
Always.
heels.
and red heels. I had to be on brand. I mean, let's
You
be
were
serious.
you were
I
perfect.
was representing the fiercely red plug brand. No, I had that on Sheila's chair when she walked in today because I thought that would be a really fun
That's
little
amazing.
reminiscent moment. So amazing. Thank you so much for coming
Oh,
on today.
my pleasure. So
it was
good to
so
see
lovely.
you.
Hopefully we'll have a part 2. Maybe there will be another book in the near future.
There's always a book simmering. There's at least 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, there will be a part 2, 3, 4. Who knows?
Who knows?
But thank you so much. This
My
was so
pleasure.
much fun. And I
Thank
will
you.
leave everything in the comments below so that you can find your own copies of Hired, the second edition with the red dot beside Sheila's head.
And the high hair.
And the high hair, big hair. It matters. That's amazing.
Carry on.
Of course.